Islam Moors, this is Sister Tahida Najee-Ullah of Califa Media, a Moorish guide publishing company wholly controlled by the Moorish Science Temple, California, Incorporated. Today, I will be reading off a review of Exodus, Gods and Kings. I really had no interest in this movie as it was once again another demonstration of the Europeans' attempt to culture jack our people and insert themselves into a history that, if it existed, they didn't exist when it occurred. That aside, I was inspired to look into the reviews after coming across a Facebook post that cited Exodus, Gods and Kings as underwhelming in the box office. So I dug through the many reviews. None of them were good. The ones that were kind of complimentary, it was obvious that those were paid reviews. I won't name names, but, if you look at it, if you go look into it yourself, you'll be able to see it too. It's glaring. So I went to a source that, I could actually consider credible. I'm at rogerebert.com reviews/Exodus-Gods-Kings and Kings-2014. This is a review submitted by Christy Lemire on December 11, 2014. It goes on to say, a numbing and soulless spectacle of 3D and computer-generated imagery run amok, Ridley Scott's Exodus, Gods and Kings presents an enduring tale by pummeling us over the head with it. The story of Moses rising up against the Pharaoh Ramses and leading hundreds of thousands of Hebrew slaves out of Egypt to freedom is one with which we are all extremely familiar. It's the entire point of Passover. Scott is not reinventing the wheel here. Rather, he's invented the biggest, shiniest, noisiest wheel imaginable. Then he runs us over with it rather than inviting us along for the ride. Certainly, there's an allure to seeing this sort of old-fashioned biblical epic on the big screen. And indeed, with its proliferation of pixels, there is undeniable craft and heft to the massive set pieces and behemoth battles. From the costumes to the weaponry to the interiors, it's obvious that Scott's team took great care in considering and creating every detail. But the film as a whole, with script credited to Adam Cooper and Bill College and Jeffrey Kane and Stephen Zalian, feels overstuffed and overglossed. Self-serious to a fault, it packs in more and more in terms of story and extravagant visuals, while offering too little in terms of actual character development and engaging drama. When he's been at his absolute best in his lengthy career, directing films like Blade Runner and Alien, and even Thelma and Louise, Scott has established himself as a visionary and a master of creating imagery that will go on to be iconic. Exodus feels oddly impersonal. It's hard to tell what Scott's point is here, beyond making his Academy Award-winning Gladiator look like an independent film by comparison. Earlier this year, Gladiator star Russell Crowe played the title character in Darren Aronofsky's Noah. This was a biblical epic which also was massive in scope, but at the same time beautiful and strange. It stayed true to its source material, but found an intriguing and challenging tone. It actually evoked emotion. In Exodus, the plagues are fun, briefly, and that's about it. At least, the prospect of the plague presents the promise of fun. Ew, gross, a massive pile of frogs, or, ah yeah, here come the locusts. But like so much else in the film, these potentially thrilling sequences of havoc and terror evolve into enormous swarms digitally divorced from their effect on humanity. The boils, though, they remain, and they're nasty. It certainly doesn't help that Christian Bale plays Moses in mostly stiff and detached fashion. But hey, at least he's more intelligible here than he is as a grumbling and tormented Batman. Here he's a quietly capable leader, a general among men, and in the eyes of Pharaoh Seti, John Turturro, who raised Moses as his adopted son, clearly more capable to take over the kingdom than his own biological son, the preening and egotistical Ramses, John Egerton. Despite the thick eyeliner, the shiny bald pate, and the radiant golden wardrobe, Egerton is never quite flamboyant enough. He could have gone over the top with this role and helped breathe some life into this picture. He seemed sadly uncomfortable. Once it's revealed that Moses is actually, Jewish, he's cast into exile, where he forges a pleasant new life for himself as a sheep herder with a wife and a son. Meanwhile, over the past 9 years, Ramses has assumed power and essentially turned Memphis into Las Vegas. Overbuilt, overpopulated, and so generally overwhelmed that the slaves are being burned to death just to thin the place out. It seems entirely possible that Scott does not get the irony of constructing something that is simply too big. It's at this time that Moses starts seeing visions and receiving instructions as to his true purpose, to return to his homeland and free his people. God appears to him as an impish British schoolboy. Wow, which is a rather clever idea. Sure, because British schoolboys were in old Israel, right, or old Egypt, sure. In retrospect, Old Testament God does seem rather capricious and destructive in ways that remind me of my overtired 5-year-old son playing with his Legos after a long day at school. But that casting represents a rare moment of innovation in a film that may as well come with a checklist at the door. Even the parting of the Red Sea, which should be a spectacular event generating legitimate excitement, suggests the draining of a massive bathtub. Ben Kingsley appears in a woefully small role as Nun, the elderly scholar who shares the news with Moses about his true heritage. Yet he can't help but infuse his few moments with great dignity. As Joshua, who helps Moses lead the slaves out of Egypt, Aaron Paul is mostly relegated to sticking by Moses' side, a huge waste of both his presence and his ordinarily inspired instincts. Sigourney Weaver gets even less to do as Ramses' haughty mother, Tuya. Aside, if y'all actually Google Tuya, see what you come up with, and you will be, they're embarrassing themselves. Anyway, while Hayam Abbas, as Moses' mother, Bethia, has only a handful of lines of dialogue. So why is this blockbuster different from all other blockbusters? It's not. There's just more of it, and less. Again, that is a review of Exodus, Ridley Scott's Exodus, Gods and Kings, submitted by Christy Lemire on December 11, 2014. And it should be noted, this movie cost $200 million to make, brought in $24 million this first weekend. So that might be an indication that the veil is falling. Nobody's going for these lies anymore because it's obvious that people who can't stay in the sun more than 10 minutes without greasing themselves up could not have been these same people. And let's not ignore the fact that our ancestors were wise enough to leave records in stone. If I didn't know any better, I would think they knew that their descendants would be subject to this beast trying to steal their history, because theirs, I guess, is so whack that they don't want to just claim their own. But I guess, if you're thirsting European history, you know why. And this is not hateful. This is truth. If you're offended, I really don't care. Look into the history before you try to defend these lies, and then see if you want to be offended, Again, if you're offended, I could care less. Do your research. Truth is truth, no matter if you like it or not. That being said, this is Sister Tahita Najee-Ullah of Califa Media. Islam, peace, and I'll see you when I see you.